Hello, hello, Simon. Can you hear me?
Hi there. Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Let's give it a few minutes and let a few more people join, and then we'll kick off.
Sounds good.
Okay, it seems like we have quite a few people joining, so let's slowly kick off, and then we can, I guess, catch people up over time if it comes down to that. So, hello, everyone. Pleased to welcome you all to another episode of the Yala Bitcoin Liquidity series. An interview series where we talk to some of the most interesting, fascinating projects building on not just Bitcoin, but the associated DeFi ecosystems. Today, we're pleased to be joined by Oranges from Venus Protocol, which is a decentralized protocol for crypto money markets that we are going to learn a lot more about in the next 30 minutes. So, hi, Oranges. Thank you very much for joining us. And how are you today?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Awesome. I think let's dive straight into it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Venus Protocol and I guess how Venus works to combine lending, borrowing, and lots of other DeFi activities to create a whole financial ecosystem.
Sure. So Venus Protocol is the largest lender on BNB. We're also on various different Ethereum and Layer 2 blockchains. I guess as a DeFi lender, you can deposit collateral to earn a yield, and then you can use that collateral to then take out a loan to do whatever you wish within DeFi, whether you want to leverage, whether you want to short, whether you want to take part in specific kind of BNB launch pools, for example, or by borrowing BNB, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, vanilla DeFi lender, as everyone knows, but we've got a few little benefits I'm sure we'll get into in a minute.
Got it. What's the I guess the vision for Venus Protocol? How did the idea come about, and how has the journey been since launch?
So Venus has been around for about 4 years. If you guys are familiar with a DeFi protocol called Compounds, Venus is a fork of Compounds contracts.
Okay.
And we started on BNB, obviously when BNB came out, when the narrative was Ethereum's too expensive, BNB could court a lot of market share by providing very cheap transaction fees for users. And we've grown quite a lot since then. We have about $2.4 billion TVL across all chains, but the majority of that is on BNB. And we're the number one DApp on Binance as well. We're also the second largest revenue generator as a lender within blockchain.
Okay, got it. Interesting. It's been a big or successful 4 years for you guys then. How long have
Yes,
you been
yeah,
with
yeah.
the Venus team? Oh,
I've only been with Venus for about 7 or so months, so I
okay,
haven't
got it.
been here for the whole of Venus's journey, but yeah, been here a little bit.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, I guess let's dive back into Venus as a DeFi protocol. You mentioned lots of other, I guess, nifty aspects of Venus that makes it stand out. So can you touch on some of these and how Venus differentiates itself from regular quote unquote DeFi lending platforms?
Sure. So some of the main differences, what Venus does is they have core pools and isolated pools. Core pools is where you can deposit assets, and then you can borrow assets within the core pool, within a select, basically quite a wide ranging selection of different assets that you can then borrow against. This is really useful for like maximum flexibility, but if you want to, say, loop LSTs or reduce your exposure only to specific assets, because ultimately by lending into a pool, your funds are being used as loans for other users. Again, they take loans out based on the collateral they deposit, right? So in the core pool, you have, I guess, technically risk to various different collateral assets, whereas we also have isolated pools. When isolated pools are basically pools with very limited exposure. So for example, we have an Ethereum LST pool, which only contains Ethereum LSTs, LRTs, and ETH itself. So you're only exposed to LRTs, not to Bitcoin and different stable coins and other assets that you would have within the core pool. And the benefit of this is you also have higher LTVs. So with higher LTVs, loan to value, you're able to take out a larger loan against your collateral. So if you want to be looping LSTs, for example, you can borrow more money to maximize your profit on a particular looping strategy or whatever you're looking to do. The other key differentiator is we have something called Venus Prime. This is a incentive program where you can lock XVS, the native token on Venus, to gain access to better supply and borrow APYs. So you'll have a higher supply rate for, say, USDC to deposit and a lower borrow rate for certain assets as well. This is done by diverting 20% of protocol revenue to Prime users in the form of more competitive supply and borrow rates. And as I mentioned earlier, we're the second largest revenue generator as a lender within the whole DeFi space. So this program can be quite lucrative for users.
Okay, interesting. And that was called Venus Prime, you said?
Yes, exactly. So you can see it on the Venus website, venus.io. You just go there, look at Prime, and you deposit or you stake 1,000 XVS, and then you gain access to Venus Prime. But there are only 500 Prime memberships per chain. So on BNB, I think we are maxed at 500, but as people leave, more become available. So you can stake, and then one becomes available, you can get a Prime spot. And then on other chains, we still have some space depending on the chain.
Okay, interesting. I'll need to go try that.
Yeah,
Also,
it's worth looking at, for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of different types of pools on Venus. Which ones are you seeing have with the highest TVL, or which ones are you seeing, I guess, generate the most user interest here? For example, you mentioned LST baskets as one example.
So I'd say one of our most popular markets is the Binance core pool, where you can borrow BNB. That's probably the most clear use case, because whenever there's a Binance launch pool where basically users who stake BNB get access to airdrops, we see huge activity within this market. People deposit any collateral they have to borrow BNB to then deposit into the launch pool to receive the airdrop. So that's probably one of the most popular markets on Venus.
Okay, interesting. That makes sense as well. I guess to take it back a little bit, so Venus launched on BNB chain 4 years ago. Can you touch a bit more on I guess the justification for choosing the Binance ecosystem as the main platform? So I guess Solana maybe wasn't as established or even around 4 years ago. So I guess the only real option or substitute would have been Ethereum at the time.
Yeah, so Solana 4 years ago, as far as I'm aware, wasn't around. The reason for BNB, I think, is because, well, Venus is a compound fork, which is a native Ethereum lender. That isn't as popular nowadays, but back 4 years ago was one of the leading DeFi lenders out there. It doesn't make sense to fork a protocol and compete in their garden. BNB was coming about and had very low transaction fees and had quite strong product market fit at the time, because Ethereum mainnet transaction fees were and still are relatively very expensive. So it made sense for Venus to kind of capture this new market that's been generated. So we could take some of the proven, well executed tech on Ethereum, take that over to BNB and provide BNB users with high quality lending products and services.
Okay, got it. And I guess Venus recently proposed expanding to Ethereum and CK Sync as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, so Venus is it's currently executing a multi-chain strategy. So obviously BNB is our bread and butter and where Venus started, but we've launched on Ethereum, Base, ZK Sync, Optimism, Unichain, and And the goal is, like, obviously everyone in the team is very BNB native, and finance is the bread and butter for Venus. But if we want to grow and expand further, our growth is limited on BNB, not because there's not anything wrong with BNB, but there's obviously a huge crypto ecosystem outside of BNB that Venus has, if it didn't expand to, wouldn't be able to capitalize on. So we've moved over to Ethereum and Base, ZK Sync, Optimism, Arbitrum, etc., to bring the product and Prime and the expertise that we have within lending over to Ethereum to help grow the protocol further.
Yep, got it. Can you touch a bit on the, I guess, the traction that you've seen across all of these sub ecosystems and L2s? Are there any that have stood out?
ZK Sync's been a really good one for us. We became the largest lender on ZK Sync for a while. Unichain, we're also the largest lender on Unichain. So being on Ethereum mainnet as well, we've done pretty well. Obviously, the recent market turmoil has I think made it difficult for most projects, but yeah, we're seeing some good success on a lot of the chains we've gone on, and now we're focusing on increasing the use cases that people can use Venus for on Ethereum and the layer 2s, and seeing how we can just maintain and grow those markets.
Okay, got it. Yeah, speaking of use cases and acquiring new users here, can you share a bit more about I guess the average Venus user? Who are you seeing attracted to the platform? Are you facing any institutional interest, or is it mostly I guess retail for now, or a nice combination of both?
It's probably a bit of a combination of both. I guess it depends on the chain. So on Ethereum, we're seeing a lot of LRT action, and a lot of people from the Puffer community, for example, are using us. On BNB, we're seeing a lot of retail from, I mean, BNB, I think, is a majority retail chain, and we're seeing a lot, as I said before, from the launch pools, and we have big markets with Floki and other assets. That's a lot of retail users are interested in. We are working on an initiative to basically provide a institutional grade version of Venus to help us with institutional adoption. And there should be something out on that, some more details out on that through our governance forums over the next couple of months.
Okay, got it. Can you tease anything about what this looks like, or how it differs from the or maybe
not
not
too much, but basically institutions, they need KYC, they need a more like a separate kind of protocol that they can interact with, and that the various custodians they use can interact to release their funds into the protocol. So we're looking at creating a kind of a siloed institutional product that institutional users can use. But if you want details, there is some details on the forum if you check out our pre-V5 initiatives, and then obviously implementing those pre-V5 initiatives will be going through governance shortly.
Okay, got it. We'll keep an eye on the forum in that case. I guess speaking of the DAO forum, can you touch a bit upon the Venus DAO structure? I guess Venus is positioned as a community-driven protocol for money markets. Can you touch a bit upon how this works and how it's community-driven?
Sure. So every single decision, whether it's a collateral asset listing or a change in parameters or anything like this, goes through governance. So the process is, it looks like you have a proposal onto the forum. The community gets a chance to comment, feedback, make suggestions, and then that then goes through to snapshot, in which token holders vote on whether they wish for that to go through. If that's passed, then the dev team will then has a mandate to build out the infrastructure to make that particular proposal happen. And then we go to VIP, which is a Venus improvement proposal, which again, token holders vote on. And then once passed, that automatically executes the code to push whatever the initiative is live. So let's say it's adding new LRT as collateral on Ethereum's isolated markets, then the code is written, and then when the VIP passes, the code is automatically executed within the VIP. So there's not like an individual person who's actually executing that code. It is, in theory, the community through smart contract code that's implementing the new upgrade or change or addition.
Okay, got it. So I guess from your perspective, how are you finding navigating like this community DAO structure? I guess
I
from a
think
BD perspective, there's there could be a lot of I'm not sure how to phrase it. I guess.
Sure. Working for DAO and trying to get things through governance is, it has its benefits, but it has its challenges. I'd say the biggest challenge is speed. Like, if you want to get something live quickly, you can't, because you have to give 3 or 4 days for the proposal to go live and for people to have time to digest and look at it. You have the voting times for the snapshot and the VIP. And so it can be less, it can kind of limit you a little bit in terms of speed, especially, and DeFi moves so quickly. But at the same time, it's, the Venus community is very strong, is very dedicated to the protocol. And there's a lot of very passionate people within the Venus community. So at the same time, it's very nice to have people so dedicated to the protocol involved and be able to give feedback to help shape how the protocol ends up looking in the long term.
Yeah, definitely. I guess having worked at a number of DAOs over the past few years, there are definite benefits and challenges to the community-driven approach.
Yeah, 100%. It's just a different way of working, I think.
Yeah. Okay, let's change direction if you're fine with that. To speak all things BTC-Fi, Bitcoin DeFi. Can you tell us a bit about, I guess, both your personal experience with the Bitcoin DeFi space and whether it's something that Venus as a protocol is looking at or evaluating?
Yeah, so Venus as a whole, as for Venus, we are quite interested in Bitcoin Fi. It's proven to be its own, it's proven to have found strong product market fit within its own segment of DeFi, right? Like, lots of people hold Bitcoin, lots of people want to be able to use their Bitcoin within DeFi and within crypto more broadly. So, we work with various partners like Solve, to be able to, like Lombard, for example, and others, to be able to provide Bitcoin Fi access to our users, right? Personally, I personally don't hold any Bitcoin. Maybe that's a bad thing, but if I did, I would definitely be participating in Bitcoin Fi.
Okay, your BNB Maxi?
It's ETH, really.
Okay, fair enough. You touched a bit, you mentioned working with a number of Bitcoin projects, including Solve and Lombard. Can you touch a bit on I guess, the engagement with these projects?
Sure. So, Lombard, for example, we've launched on Ethereum mainnet. We are in talks to bring LBTC to BNB. They're a really great team with really strong products. They're going through their own points program at the moment, and I think there's a really good market there for people to be able to utilize if they're interested in Bitcoin Fi. I think you can get 4.5% on your Bitcoin going through their product. You can gain exposure to that through Venus without having to sell or swap any of your assets out. For example, deposit your BNB, borrow Bitcoin, go over to Lombard, right? Solve as well, a really good partner of ours. They've just made an announcement recently, including us, which is really nice of them. You check out our Twitter. I think we are with the second largest Bitcoin derivative after BTCB on Venus, for example. So that's showing that there's a lot of demand and interest in Solve's products on Venus as well.
Okay, interesting. We'll go check out your Twitter for this announcement. And to
top of the page
I
on
guess,
Venus.
yeah. Okay, perfect. And to not keep you too long, I guess we have 2 questions that I'd like to close with. Number 1, what are you most looking forward to for the future of Venus? What can you, or I guess you've teased a few things now. What are you most excited for in the next year?
So what I'm most excited about is Venus is launching a V5. And details of that aren't out, and that's not something, unfortunately, I can give too much details on today. But we have also done a V5, a pre-V5 kind of proposal, which has a host of different initiatives that Venus is bringing. For example, we're bringing a lot of AI agents to make it a lot easier to use Venus. Not that it's hard, but like, for example, it will show you what your LTV and your health factor would be like if you did a loop position before you actually do it. To sift through all of our documentation Q&A so people can ask questions and get quick answers on how specific areas of the protocol works. We're making changes to our Prime tokenomics by making it so there's no wait for people to access Prime at certain stake levels and TVL values. So I think there's some really interesting initiatives. We're doing the Vanguard Vantage, what's it called, foundation. That I think is going to be really powerful to enable Venus to really reach out to institutions and other big players within the space to drive growth and liquidity to the protocol itself. So that, along with the upcoming V5 product changes, I think is what is for me the most exciting thing that's coming this year through Venus.
Okay, got it. When can we expect more on, I guess, more details on this?
Yes, 100%. I mean, the V5, the pre-V5 is already out. So you can look, if you go onto our forum, you'll be able to just search for pre-V5. You'll see a very detailed forum post outlining all the different initiatives. And then, as I mentioned earlier, these will be going through governance one by one soon. And then for V5 itself, that has not been released yet, and that's something the Venus Labs team are working very hard on. So soon we want to be drip feeding information around that, and hopefully over the next few months there'll be something there we can talk about.
Got it. We'll keep an eye out for this. And then last question, I guess, what are you most excited for in the DeFi space as a whole? So separate from Venus protocol, what's your, I guess, bold prediction for the space for the year ahead?
I think we're in an interesting spot at the moment because the narrative was restaking, and then the narrative moved to meme coins. And then thanks to Argentina, the meme coin narrative is taking a bit of a hit. And I think now we're in a spot. I explained this to someone earlier. I believe we're in like a building spot at the moment. And that might sound a bit dull, but we're basically in this middle ground where we're waiting for the next narrative. And I think the next exciting thing that we'll all be talking about hasn't been shipped yet. So I think at the moment, and that's probably another reason why markets are down so badly, obviously because of Trump and the various different tariff issues and wider macro uncertainty, but there's nothing for users to really focus on at the moment within the wider DeFi space, right? So I think 2025 is still going to be a very good year. I think we've had some really good changes in crypto regulation, especially in the US. And I think, with the foot being taken off our head, so to speak, crypto, I think, has a very bright future. But I think right now we're in this lull where there isn't this next narrative that's super exciting for people to get behind and start doing. So I'm interested to see what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I do think this year will be a good year. I still think this year will be a good year.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been an interesting few years and very positive overall for the space. So it'd be, I think, more fascinating than not if that suddenly came to a halt. So I agree. I think there's a lot more interesting stuff to come.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
I think on that note, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today?
I think the main thing is come check out Venus. I think we've got some really interesting products and different collateral assets that people can use. So come check us out, see what you think. If you've got any questions, come to our Telegram or Discord to ask any questions. You can tag me directly as well if you wish to speak to me. And yeah, thank you to everyone for all of their time and for listening. And I hope you all have a good day.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Speak to you soon.
Cheers,
Thanks
guys.
everyone for coming. Bye bye.